The sound of high heels. I recently moved into a small rental room located in a secluded alley. The area was desolate, with few residents and almost no greenery. But the rent was cheap and the utilities worked perfectly, so it felt like a good deal for someone on a tight budget like me. I had a habit of turning off the lights and getting into bed before 11 p.m., though I didn't fall asleep right away. Instead, I'd scroll through my phone until I got tired. From the very first night I moved in, I noticed something strange. Every night at around 12:30 a.m., I would hear the sound of high heels clicking on the cement path outside my room. The sound was sharp and clear, echoing in the stillness of the night. I shrugged it off, telling myself it was probably just some woman walking home late. Maybe a night worker always punctual, I thought to myself. Until one night. The night it changed. That night I had been out drinking with friends to celebrate the end of the year. I stumbled back to my room late, probably around the same time the woman in high heels usually passed by. Curiosity, fueled by the alcohol in my veins, got the better of me. Instead of going straight into my room, I lingered outside, hoping to catch a glimpse of this mysterious woman. Sure enough, the familiar sound of high heels started again. The clicking echoed steadily, just as it had every other night. I looked up toward the far end of the alley, expecting to see someone, but there was no one there. The alley was completely empty, dimly lit by a faint yellow streetlight that left large patches of darkness between the buildings. The sound continued, getting louder and closer, yet the alley remained deserted. A growing fear. My heart began to race as the sound of the heels drew nearer, steady and deliberate. I tried to convince myself I was imagining things. It's probably the echo, I thought, trying to calm my nerves. I decided to head inside. My hand fumbled in my pocket for the keys, but in my rush I dropped them. Cursing under my breath, I crouched down to pick them up. The clicking sound grew louder, almost deafening now, as if the heels were just a few steps away. And then it stopped. Right behind me. The horror. An icy chill ran down my spine. I could feel someone standing just behind me. My body froze in place, too terrified to turn around. The air around me felt heavy, almost suffocating, and a cold sweat trickled down my neck. Then a voice whispered softly into my ear. "Were you looking for me?" The aftermath. I don't remember how I managed to unlock the door and get inside. By the time I came to my senses, I was sitting on my bed. The door locked tightly behind me. The room was silent, but I kept staring at the door, too afraid to close my eyes. After that night, I never heard the sound of high heels again. But every time I walk through the alley to my room, I feel like someone is watching me from the shadows, waiting for me to linger just a little too long. And I never wait outside my door anymore. Story 2: Don't look to your left. I've always been a practical person, someone who doesn't believe in ghosts or the supernatural. But after what happened to me, I'm not so sure anymore. It all started 2 years ago. I was home alone, sitting in bed with the lights off, watching an old horror movie I'd seen countless times before. I felt completely relaxed, not paying much attention to anything else. Then out of nowhere I caught a glimpse of something moving in the corner of my eye. I instinctively turned my head to the right. Nothing was there. Just a dark, empty corner of the room. I chuckled, telling myself it was my imagination. But the eerie feeling lingered throughout the night, like someone was watching me. I didn't tell anyone. It wasn't worth mentioning. And eventually I forgot all about it. 2 years later. I didn't think about that shadow again until one night 2 years later. I was sitting on the couch in my living room, scrolling through my phone, when the strange feeling returned. This time it was stronger. I could feel it, a pair of invisible eyes watching me. But something was different. I couldn't turn my head to the right like I had before. Instead, my gaze drifted left. Before I could see anything clearly, my phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. It was a call from an unknown number. I wouldn't normally answer, but something compelled me to pick up. A cold, urgent whisper came through the line. "Don't look to your left." I froze. "Who is this? What do you want?" I stammered. "It doesn't matter who I am," the voice replied. "Listen carefully. 2 years ago you saw me. I was the little shadow you caught out of the corner of your eye. You don't need to be afraid of me. My job is to protect you from the things you're not supposed to see." I don't understand," I said, my voice shaking. "That night you turned to your right and I kept you safe. But tonight, I can't anymore. You've stopped paying attention to me. And now? The voice hesitated. Please, no matter what you do, don't look to your left. Deadly silence. The call ended, leaving me alone in the stillness of my room. I couldn't stop thinking about what the voice had said. To my left was nothing but darkness. But this time it wasn't ordinary darkness. I could feel something there. A presence standing in the shadows waiting for me to make a mistake. Sweat dripped down my face as I sat frozen, the air around me growing heavy and suffocating. A faint sound broke the silence. Breathing. Slow, deliberate, and unmistakable. The temptation. I tried not to move, my eyes glued to my phone screen. But the thought of whatever was on my left grew stronger, like an irresistible call. I just need to turn my head a little, I told myself. Just to check. Maybe there's nothing there at all. But the voice from the phone echoed in my mind. Don't look to your left. The breathing grew louder, closer. The air turned icy, as if the thing in the shadows was creeping toward me. The ending. I don't know how long I sat there. When I finally came to, sunlight was streaming through the curtains. The room looked perfectly normal, as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I haven't told anyone this story. Honestly, I'm not sure I've escaped it entirely. Sometimes I still feel those eyes watching me from the left. And every time I remind myself, no matter what, don't look to your left. Story 3. The delivery. Hey honey, don't forget. The Best Buy delivery is scheduled for 4 p.m. today. Make sure to check through the peephole to confirm it's them before opening the door. There's been a report on the news about a serial killer wandering around the city. Their phone number is written on the note by the landline. Dinner is ready in the fridge. Just heat it up. And lock the doors carefully before you do anything else. Yeah, I got it, Mom, I replied, trying to sound obedient. Truthfully, I was already plotting how I'd spend the day glued to my computer, gaming and surfing the internet without a care in the world. I barely noticed Mom leaving for work. My eyes were locked on the screen, and it wasn't until the words "Game Over" flashed in bold letters that I glanced at the clock. 3:30 p.m. Still plenty of time. I decided to take a shower to cool off. I brought my phone with me, just in case the delivery guy called. The first call. Ring. My phone buzzed just as I expected. They were early. Hello? Is this house number XX on XX Street? I'm here with your delivery, a man's voice said. Yes, just a moment. I'll be right out, I replied, annoyed that they couldn't wait until the scheduled time. I stayed in the shower a bit longer, enjoying the warm water before finally getting dressed and heading for the door. Ring. The phone buzzed again. Hello, your order has arrived. Please come out to sign for it and make payment, the same voice said. What a pain, I grumbled. Why call twice? As I checked my call history, I froze. 2 different phone numbers had called me. The most recent one matched the Best Buy contact number Mom had left on the note. But the first number? Who was it? Mom hadn't mentioned placing an order with anyone else. A suspicious smile. Curious, I walked to the front door and peered through the peephole. A middle-aged man with a bright smile was staring back at me, his face pressed close to the glass. I sighed in relief. He was wearing a uniform and looked like any other delivery driver. Convinced, I unlatched the door and swung it open. But no one was there. The delivery truck was idling in the driveway, its engine rumbling softly, but the man had disappeared. I waited a moment, confused, before shutting the door. Thud thud. A strange sound came from outside the door, light but deliberate, like someone tapping. I peeked through the peephole again. There he was. The delivery man was smiling the same wide grin, but his face had shifted slightly, as though he was looking at something just out of view. Feeling irritated, I yanked the door open quickly this time, determined to catch him. Nothing. No one was there. The horror unfolds. Is this some kind of prank? I muttered under my breath, slamming the door shut. Thud thud. The sound came again, louder this time. But it wasn't coming from outside the door. It was coming from inside. My heart pounded as I stepped cautiously around to the front of the door. And then I saw it. Behind the door, pinned to the wood with thick nails, was the delivery man's body. His face was frozen in a lifeless grin. His uniform stained dark red. I felt the blood drain from my face. My knees buckled and I stumbled back, too stunned to scream. Then from behind me, a low, distorted voice whispered, "Package delivered. Ready to sign." Story 4. The tripping bathroom. There's something strange about the bathroom at my office. People trip and fall there all the time. The weirdest part? There's nothing there to trip over. Yesterday, my friend Yuki was in the bathroom. As she stepped out of the stall, she stumbled, falling hard onto the tiled floor. Her knee hit the ground, leaving a nasty scrape. We helped her to the break room and bandaged her knee. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I think I'll be fine," Yuki replied weakly. "You're so clumsy, Sakura," one of my coworkers laughed. "It's not my fault," Yuki protested. "Last week, Miss Sato fell there too, and the week before that, Miss Honda tripped as well. And you still managed to trip?" Sakura teased. "Honestly, you're all so clumsy. Why does everyone keep falling in that bathroom? People need to be more careful." I didn't say anything. I didn't want to sound like I was lecturing anyone. Another fall. A few days later, it was Sakura's turn. She had just stepped out of the bathroom stall when she tripped, falling forward onto her hands and knees. When she returned to the break room, she was rubbing her sore wrist. "It was like I tripped over something," she said. "But there was nothing there." Well, look who needs to be more careful now," Yuki chuckled. "It wasn't my fault," Sakura grumbled. "You know what I mean, don't you? Last time when you fell, didn't it feel like you tripped over something?" "What are you trying to say?" Yuki asked, raising an eyebrow. "I don't know," Sakura muttered. "There's nothing there, but I felt something. It's hard to explain. Maybe I'm just imagining things." "Midori, be careful when you use the bathroom," they warned me. It'd be pretty embarrassing if all of us ended up tripping over nothing. I forced a laugh and promised them I'd be careful. The truth. But I knew I would never trip in that bathroom. Because I'm the only one who can see it. The corpse of the woman lying on the bathroom floor. It's her that makes everyone trip. Story 5. The lost phone. One evening, a woman returned home late from work. She set her handbag down on the kitchen table and began unpacking a few items. As she rummaged through her belongings, she suddenly realized something was missing. Her phone. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't remember when she'd last seen it. "Maybe I dropped it on my way home," she thought to herself. She walked into the living room, picked up the landline, and dialed her own mobile number. The phone rang for a while, and then to her surprise, someone picked up. But the person on the other end didn't say anything. "Hello," she said cautiously. No response. Only the sound of steady breathing. "Hello? Can you hear me?" she asked again, her voice tinged with unease. Still no reply, but now the breathing grew heavier. "Hello? Who is this? Can you hear me?" she asked, her voice rising with panic. And then a deep, raspy voice whispered from the other end. "I hear you." The line went dead. The revelation. She called her number again, over and over, but this time no one answered. Frustrated and uneasy, she eventually gave up. By then it was late and exhaustion took over. She decided to head upstairs to her bedroom. But as she stepped into the room, she froze. Her phone was there, sitting on the nightstand, plugged into its charger. The screen was dark. She picked it up, hands trembling, and realized the phone was still on silent mode. If her phone never left the house. Who answered her call? Are you sure no one else is in your room right now? Story 6. Getting old. When I was in college, I worked as a delivery worker during the summer to make extra money. One day, I was assigned to deliver a package to a man named Yamaguchi, who lived on the 12th floor of an apartment building. After delivering the package and receiving a small tip, I noticed a handwritten note on the door of the apartment next to Yamaguchi's. "Elderly person inside. Unable to walk. Please help take the trash to the first floor if you can." I hesitated for a moment. I really wanted to get home early, but my mom always told me to help others when I could. Reluctantly, I rang the doorbell. The door opened almost immediately. An elderly man, at least 80 years old, greeted me with a frail smile. "Hello, I saw the note on your door," I said. "Thank you, young man," he replied, his voice trembling. "Getting old is tough, especially when you're alone. Please wait a moment while I grab it." The man shuffled inside. A few minutes later, he returned with a cardboard box sealed tightly with tape. "Here you go," he said, handing it to me. The box was heavier than I expected. Life is so exhausting at this age, the man sighed. Sometimes it feels like it would be better to just stop. I didn't know how to respond to such a strange comment, so I simply said, "It's no trouble. I'll take this down for you." The mysterious box. As I rode the elevator down to the first floor, curiosity gnawed at me. What could be in the box to make it so heavy? Was the man really too frail to carry it himself? Or was he just lonely and looking for someone to talk to? Then the elevator jolted slightly, and I accidentally dropped the box. It hit the floor with a loud clang, like metal striking metal. Puzzled, I inspected the box and noticed something strange. A thin wire was sticking out from the side. It trailed through the crack of the elevator doors, disappearing into the floor above. What was this? Feeling uneasy, I decided to return to the 12th floor. I needed answers. Back to the 12th floor. When the elevator doors opened, I stepped out cautiously. But the apartment door was ajar, and the old man was nowhere in sight. A chill ran down my spine as I peeked inside. The room was eerily quiet, as if no one had been living there for a long time. The furniture was dusty, the air stale. I stepped back and immediately called the police. When they arrived, they discovered something unsettling. The box and the wire weren't just trash. They were part of a carefully planned setup. It was clear that the elderly man had been battling more than just physical exhaustion. I never learned the full story of what happened that day. But every time I step into an elevator now, I can't help but feel a lingering unease, as if someone is still watching me from the floors above.